The much anticipated initial 53-man roster for the Minnesota Vikings is out. And here to break it down with me inside TCO Studios is voice of the Vikings, Paul Allen, radio analyst Pete Bursich. And guys, we have been waiting for this. The deadline was 3 o'clock on Tuesday. We got it in our hands. But when we talk about this and realize this finalized 53-man roster, we should also think about the guys who did not make it. And it's a tough day. It's a bittersweet, emotional day for guys like that. So, Pete, I kind of want to toss it to you first right off the bat. You felt it on both sides, player and coaching. What are the emotions like today?
Well, let's see, I was cut 3 times, and I probably cut in my 4 years 80 or 90 players because I was the Turk. Mike Tice made me the guy to go get the playbooks. The bottom line is this, is that as a player, you have just leave it all on the table. Do everything you possibly can. That's the only way you're going to be able to live with it. And if you did everything you could and you didn't make it, well, then you can move on. Making the team, there's nothing better. There's no better feeling. Usually it was a celebration at the state fair with a lot of food. And then as coaching, you got so much other stuff going on that when the cuts finally come, you're like, hey, we got to, hurry up, get your stuff. We got to go because I've got a meeting in about 10 minutes.
Yep.
It changes everything completely.
It certainly does. Well, the roster went from 90 to 53. So let's dive in. We'll talk about the quarterbacks first. It was a very interesting competition this offseason between the backup quarterbacks. Now, following that final preseason game with the Vikings, they released veteran Brett Rippon, traded Sam Howell, and signed Carson Wentz. So the quarterback room is now as follows. The starter is J.J. McCarthy. Then you have Carson Wentz and former Golden Gopher Max Brosmer, who had an incredible preseason for the Vikings this year. So that's the way it squares up. Pete, what are your initial thoughts on that?
They made a move and brought in Carson Wentz, who's familiar with the offense from his time out west with the Rams. So that makes sense. And then what more can you say about Brosmer? I mean, he just I think the most impressive part of Brosmer is he got better each week, and he didn't get a lot of snaps in practice. The coaches weren't talking to him in meetings. I mean, he's just there kind of absorbing everything and then going out there every week and getting better and better. So for Brosmer, how high is his ceiling? I don't know, but I'm just glad he's around and part of this franchise, at least for this year and probably for the next couple, to see how good that kid can be.
Doing 9 to noon radio shows at the State Fair, so we have a live audience. You just say the name Max Brosmer, and it elicits applause from everybody because everybody's so happy about this long shot. This is a massive long shot for an undrafted quarterback to make an active roster. It just doesn't happen. Now, and while that's a wonderful story, like Pete said, let's not forget, there have been a lot of quarterback chatter here the offseason. J.J. McCarthy was, is, and will be the player on whom we focus most. Now moving forward, his development, Chicago's on the horizon. I can't wait to watch him. I know you can't wait to watch him. Likewise for you. So let's not forget J.J. McCarthy in this equation, okay?
Right, of course. We could not forget that. It does feel like it's been a while since we've really seen him in action. I know. So, but in front of him is the offensive line, which is kind of a bit of a new look offensive line from the top to the bottom. Just a few familiar faces. We've got the starting 5 being Christian Darrisaw, Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, and Brian O'Neill. Paul, what about that group and even the guys behind him has you excited about this new look line?
Well, with the Minnesota Moving Company and Carson Wentz, the player who's now part of the team, like Tatum said, Carson played with Ryan Kelly and Will Fries in Indianapolis. So that's, it probably won't matter as the season goes on, but if it does, they know each other well. But with the Minnesota Moving Company starting 5, the interior has been talked out during the offseason. Donovan Jackson, the rookie, has represented quite well in the joint practices against the Patriots and subsequently the preseason. Now behind them, Blake Brandel, who started at guard all year last year, well, now he goes back to the multifaceted Swiss Army knife, unbalanced guy. Rouse and Juergens have another year under their belt. And Joe Huber, the undrafted offensive lineman from Wisconsin. I mean, you talk about tenacity and fortitude to earn your way into this group, make them keep 10 offensive linemen because they probably were worried if we put him over here, we're probably going to lose him. But Joe Huber, just another undrafted guy to make the squad.
One of 7.
And that has to be an NFL record.
I was going to say, we haven't had time to look that up or check, but that's an insane. You don't see 7 rookies on a roster, period, let alone all of them being undrafted.
That's wild. I mean, we can go on a line. Max Brosmer, Chas Chambliss, Joe Huber, Austin Keys, Miles Price, Elijah Williams, and Ben Urasek.
Right.
I mean, the emotions, also let's talk about the development or answering the call, Pete. Like when you see those guys out there, they have to be on every single snap of every single practice to get to this position.
100%. You have to take advantage of every minute of every day in order to get here. And I think some of this might be a trend in the NFL only because there's only 7 rounds. There used to be a lot more. With the portal and guys bringing in guys from other places and they end up being backups. I think the college landscape is changing a little bit, and it's going to be interesting to see if you're going to see more undrafted rookie free agents make squads across the NFL.
And I just want to say this again about Brosmer. Just go ahead and go up and down everybody's active roster. They're 53. And find me undrafted quarterbacks, specifically the last couple of years, who have made teams. This is a massive, massive accomplishment and an elite find by the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, well, PA's giving you some homework today to go figure that one out, right?
We would probably look at the Saints and find about 4.
Actually, that was actually going on in my head as you
I'm
spoke.
sorry.
No, it's good.
Louis the Animals.
So let's switch to the defense a little bit because a lot of those names I think on that list are defensive players, and we're going to focus on the defensive line because it's been one of the most interesting developments on this roster to follow. You see they traded Harrison Phillips last week, and now you've got these guys. I think there's 6 of them on the roster right now. Pete, what is it about that group this season?
First of all, it's probably the most competitive group out there. We really didn't know who was going to make it, and then as the chips fell, we traded a veteran and other things moved around. The other part that intrigues me about this group is you are going to see these guys on the field first because defensive lines rotate now. And so you're going to see Jalen Redmond, he might be a starter, but guys like Tyrion Ingrams-Dawkins and Elijah Williams, you're going to see a lot of them quickly.
And Elijah Williams, Morgan State, okay, undrafted. And think Marcus Sherrills, Adam Thielen. I'm sure there are some others, but Elijah Williams had to try out just to get to rookie camp. And now he's made the team. And, Brian Baldinger, who does wonderful work for NFL Network, Baldy's Breakdowns, I knew when he did a Baldy breakdown on Elijah Williams for one of these preseason games, I knew you put him on the practice squad, good luck with that. But when big men move the way he does, with the tenacity with which he plays, congratulations. He's a fantastic find.
Fantastic find, and also a fantastic person in general. Wonderful kid. Really excited for him and his future. You can see the entire Vikings roster over at Vikings.com. And while the coaching staff is now busy assembling that 16-man practice squad, we will hear from GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah on Thursday to go into more in-depth about these roster moves. However, with the roster now set, that means we are just that much closer to the beginning of Vikings football. And we open things up in Chicago on Monday Night Football against the Bears. That game's September 8th. And then on September 14th, the Vikings are back home in US Bank Stadium against the Falcons for Sunday Night Football. To be able to start the season out prime time, the only game on television, I think, maybe I could be wrong about the Monday Night Football one,
Nobody cares about the other one.
But they're looking at this, all eyes on those. I mean, what does that say about the start of this season?
Well, I mean, Pete and I have talked a lot about this off camera, off microphone, or whatever. Pete played back in the 90s. He's been the analyst since 07. I've called Vikings games since 02. So there have been some big season openers that got us genuinely excited, like 2009 when Brett Favre debuted at Cleveland. We'll never forget that one. But this one, because of Ben Johnson coaching the Bears, McCarthy making his regular season debut in his home state, there are just so many great storylines, and it's a divisional game, and it's on the road. How great is this?
It's why the NFL is number one, because they have the ability to manufacture all these things. And then for the Vikings on the road in prime time has not been kind. I believe we're 0 for the last 6, 0 for the last 7, so we got to figure that bit out on the road in prime time. But you go ahead and win these first two and look good in prime time, right? From a Monday night to a Sunday night, now you're going to have some people talking about it.
Well, in that home opener against Atlanta, you know, J.J. McCarthy is the Vikings quarterback, but Michael Penix was in the same draft. And so therefore there's intrigue there. It's a night game in Minneapolis. How great is this whole start?
The start is incredible. The schedule is incredible.
And then your guy Joe Burrow next.
It's going to be
And
crazy.
then Dublin and London.
I mean, then. You
Holy
can just keep going.
Well, my man's trying to prick balloons here with like records on prime time and stuff. Tatum and I are just to Twitter with excitement, and you're like pricking balloons.
Look, I'm just trying to temper my emotions. We are now 13 days away from the Vikings football season starting off. Thank you so much, Pete and Paul, for being here inside TCO Studios for this. 13 days away. I didn't say before the show that I wasn't going to drop a Taylor Swift reference, but I just did for you guys if you watched to the end.